devout persons, and in the market daily with them that met with him. Then certain philosophers of the Areopagus and of the Stoics encountered him, and some said, "What will this babbler say?" Others said, where am I? Over here. It says he seemed to be a what? Seller forth of strange gods, because he preached unto them Jesus and the resurrection. And they took him and brought him to Areopagus, saying, "May we know what this new doctrine where you speak about?" It says, "For thou bringest certain strange things to our ears. We would know therefore what these things mean." For the Athenians and strangers, which were, what's the light? It says, which were there, spent their time in nothing else but either to tell or to hear of some new thing. And what they were doing, these highly scholar Greeks, what they do, they sit around and they hear, what's the latest doctrine? What's the latest thing? And what they had heard about this person, Paul, speaking about Jesus and the resurrection. So they said, what is this babbler? What is he talking about? So why don't you just bring him down here to where we at, so we can turn around and listen to what he has to say. Listen to stuff as God turned around and revealed this. Now, imagine if people try to go do tours back up over to the Holy Lands and things of this nature. When they go to area of Areopagus, Mars Hill, there's some people that I know had turned around and said that they went straight to this passage and they stood right up over there where they have it, say where the landmark was, where Paul was, and started reading that. And it's almost like reliving that, that situation that what he had to go through and things of this nature. Listen to this right here. It said, then Paul stood in the midst of Mars Hill and said, "Ye men of Athens, I perceive that in all things you are too superstitious." Other translations said too religious. "For as I passed by and beheld your devotions, I found an altar with this inscription, to the unknown God, whom ye therefore ignorantly worship. Him I will declare unto you. God made the world and all things therein, seeing that he is Lord of heaven and earth, dwell not in temples made by hands, neither is worship with men's hands, as though he needed anything, seeing he giveth to all life and breath and all things, and have made of one blood all nations of men, for to dwell on the face of the earth, and to determine the times before appointed, and the bounds of their habitation, that they should seek the Lord, if haply they might feel after him, and find him, though he not be far from any one of us. For in him we live and move and have our being, as certain also of your own poets said, for we are also his offspring." That right there is a very thing, because here it is. Certain philosophers, certain people who they heard and spoke while he was at Areopagus and Mars Hill, these great poets, they borrow things from the gospel. They borrowed things from the Old Testament, and they brought it in to their own forms of philosophy, their own forms of doctrine and teaching. See, they had a knowledge. They have a knowledge that this is truth, but they don't want to recognize the truth and adhere to the truth. Let's keep going up over here at verse 29. "For as much then as we were the offsprings of God, we ought not to think that the Godhead is like unto gold or silver or stone, graven by art and man's devices. And at the times of this ignorance God winked at, but now command all men everywhere to repent, because he have appointed a day in which he will judge the world in righteousness by that man who he hath ordained, whereof he hath given assurance unto all men, in that he hath raised him from the what? From the dead. Resurrection. Jesus and the resurrection. And when they heard of the resurrection of the dead, some mocked, and others said, "We will hear thee again of this matter." They kind of like just dismissed it. Verse 33, it says here, "So Paul departed from among them." Did he get upset? Did Paul say, the scripture said he started crying and whining because they didn't listen to temper tantrums or anything like that? Or, he kicking rocks or something like that? No, he didn't. Hey, this is truth. You just tell them what the truth is. Listen to this right there. "Howbeit," why is that there, howbeit? Let's read on. it says, certain men clave unto them. That means they drew close. They got near and saying this, and believed. Among them were Diophanes of the Areopagite, a woman of name Dionysius. I don't know if I mispronounced that over here. And others with them. See, now here it is. Even though these great philosophers, these people who turned around and, called him a babbler, strange things that they spoke of, God convicted even the people that was there. And what they did, they clave and they drew to him. But what happens when people start talking to you, or you talk to other people about Jesus? How do they react?
Sometimes they just push
You
away.
can speak up loud, I can hear you.
Sometimes they just push away.
Push
Sometimes
away.
They don't hear it.
Do you get upset behind it? Get a little bothered. Yeah. Because why? They don't accept the truth that you're trying to preach, right?
Right.
Jesus said you're going to face these oppositions. The apostles have said we're going to face these oppositions. But how do you handle it? That's the key thing. Can a Christian live in a pluralistic society? Yes, we can, but the thing is we don't conform ourselves to these things. So what I'm going to do now, showing you about Epicurean Stoic philosophers dealing with chance, reason, these certain type of philosophers. There was many different philosophers during this time, but by God's providence, why were these two placed in here? Does everything happen by chance?
Nope.
Well, do we believe that we should eat, drink, and be merry for tomorrow we die? So we can live in areas of indulgence, indulging ourselves in pleasures of this world? Should we do something like that? These are what these guys did. This is the type of philosophy that we even have in today's modern churches. By chance, we got the Christian scientists, and I'm talking about not the creationists, we're talking about Christian scientists who believe in the evolutionist theory, that Big Bang happened. It was just God doing the Big Bang, but then if you quote unquote say the evolutionists, that means that man spawned from monkeys. Is that correct?
No.
Or did we come from what's called the primordial ooze, that, this soup, this goo, and it formed into some type of beast or fish, and then it finally into a man? When have we ever seen evolution stop going? I'll put it to the test of anybody. Pick a section in your house, in front of your house, inside your house, at your business or anything, and said, I declare this the area of the Big Bang. And I want you to come here and I want to see a universe created from here. Out of nothing. I want to see something spontaneously happen. See, that's what I'm saying. These people can't turn around and say these things. In here where Paul says that we know that God had created these things. There's a quote over in Romans chapter 1 that Paul says that the invisible things are seen clearly by us because we know that God created this. He created this. He did these things. But when you don't acknowledge God from that, that's the biggest problem that you have. You'll be no different than these guys who turn around and just take Christianity and just throw it away as some, useless doctrine. I'll use it when I feel like it and stuff like that. But let me show you about far as this here, where someone who turned around and ripped out the very essence of life that can turn around and save them. This is how the world cares about God's word. We as Christians should be stirred up, just like as Paul said, when he went and he saw all the strange idols, all the things that are happening. He said it's just like people tearing away from the truth. And you know why people tear away from the truth? Because it's a convicting message to them. When you turn on the lights, what they say, the little bugs scamper and stuff like that. How you guys doing, man? Come on, join yourselves.
What's up, guys?
All right. How are we supposed to be doing?
I got it's less.
When you have an individual who comes to the truth, you find that yourself. You're faced with a decision. There's that, the pinnacle fork in the road to where God reveals who you are in the light of Scripture. Are you a sinner?
Yep.
Do you think you're not a sinner? Do you think that you are more high-minded than yourselves? These are things that most people really need to start thinking about. I'm not that bad. I have never killed anybody. I never committed adultery. Have you ever lied?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. We're all liars. We cheat in many different ways. How can you turn around and how was law revealed to you? Do you think that you just spontaneously figured out everything on your own?